What's up, Denver? Chris Lopez here, and today we're going to be talking short-term rentals. Have a great privilege of having the co-founder of Loftium in the Denver studio today, and we're going to talk about their business model, which is very unique. Last couple of years, they focused on helping landlords turn properties into Airbnbs in a very unique and compliant way, and now they're in the very early stages of rolling a brand new program called Host to Own. Think about it as a rent to own, but as a way to do it through Airbnb in a much more modern way. So it'd be a really cool podcast, have lots of fun conversations, and get a sneak peek into what a company is doing here in Denver and why they bullish on Airbnb in Denver. So got my co-host Ben Einspahr, who's the Envision Advisors short-term rental and house hacking specialist. Hey, Ben.
Chris, how you doing?
Doing really good. I'm excited for this podcast because I think it was a couple months ago, our guest reached out to over email to come start talking house hacking, right? Was that, or not, to start talking Airbnb?
Correct. And it's funny, since that original email, it's been about 3 or 4 people have reached out to us and actually knew about Loftium. So it's just ironic that it came up as well.
All right. So you actually had clients reach out to you since
Since we've talked last, about 3 or 4 people I've connected with that are actually renting through Loftium.
Oh, very cool. All right. Well, with our drum roll, we'll introduce the co-founder of Loftium, Yifan Zhang. How are you doing?
I'm good. Great to see you, Chris.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we're doing this. So thank you for coordinating a trip here from Seattle to Denver so we could time it out right. And I gave a really quick intro into Loftium, and I think, some people know who it is, know who you are. A lot of people kind of know who you are. And some don't, but let's kind of rewind it because what's your story? How this come about? Because I think it's so fascinating.
Yeah, definitely. So about myself, so I'm a second-time founder. I actually went to Harvard undergrad and then have only been a startup CEO. So I have never worked for anyone, but I've started 2 companies. So my first company was a mobile fitness app down in San Francisco, and I actually came up with the idea for Loftium because between my 2 startups, I took a sabbatical. I actually traveled around the US, stayed with a bunch of different Airbnb hosts. So ended up realizing that there's so many Airbnb hosts that were kind of hosting under the table because a lot of landlords actually don't let you Airbnb. So I had to crawl under the bushes, grab the keys, let myself into that Airbnb, not talk to the neighbors.
Or act like you belong in the apartment building.
Yeah. I'm not a guest.
You wave to the neighbors. Hey.
Yep. But I think that was an interesting experience because for me, I thought there has to be a better way, right? There's a lot of people that want to host, and actually hosting is a great source of income, especially for people looking to save up a down payment. But you kind of need a more official way of doing it to give people access to kind of solve that chicken or the egg problem, right?
Yeah.
You need funding in order to buy a house. You need a house in order to have the space to host. So how do you solve that problem? And that's where Loftium came in. And I actually did house hacking myself before there was Loftium. So my first townhouse in Seattle, basically the first floor bedroom was a full-time Airbnb. And that's how I first got started. And I realized that,
And this was a place you owned, or you were like a tenant there?
Yeah, that was a place I owned.
Oh, you owned,
my first house was essentially like a Loftium before there was a Loftium. So I bought a house with an eye towards, Airbnb, and also having that separate space for guests with their own entrance and bathroom. And I got a little bit obsessed in terms of thinking about how much can I automate, how much income can this room generate? And I was shocked to see that 1 bedroom covered the cost of my entire 3-bedroom townhouse in Seattle. And that's, where Loftium comes from. It's, short-term rentals, I think, especially in a primary residence, can be so beneficial for people. You can live in the home, you can have a space, generate income, help offset your cost of living, help save up a down payment. It's just enormously beneficial, and I thought more people should have access to this.
And when did you start Loftium?
This was back in 2017.
Okay, so 2017, so about 5 years.
Yep.
And I know you guys do a lot around Denver, but you're in quite a few markets around the country, a dozen or so? Or?
Yeah, we're in 10 markets
10
now.
markets, okay.
Yep.
So yeah. Big presence in Denver, but you guys are in 10 markets all around the country.
Yeah, a lot of different markets too, like Phoenix, Atlanta, Chicago, San Diego. But our company's based in Seattle. But Seattle and Denver and Portland are our biggest markets.
Okay. And I know when Loftium first came out, your focus was helping landlords turn their properties into Airbnbs while also helping tenants. Can I walk us through what I've known Loftium is for and just what your original business model was?
Yeah, definitely. So we work with a lot of, especially DIY landlords that own a couple of single family properties, and we help them turn them into Loftiums. So basically a landlord then is able to work with Loftium. There's a primary resident that lives in their house, the main part of the house. That renter actually gets a pretty significant rent discount in exchange for helping run the Airbnb. So there's a bedroom in that house that is a full-time Airbnb. It's always separated, so the guests have their own entrance and bathroom, and they're not crossing paths with the tenants inside the house, which during COVID was especially important. We also happen to have a lot of tenants that have young families, kids and pets in the house, so having that separation is really great. So the landlord then gets to benefit because this house now has both a long-term tenant and a short-term rental. The tenant gets amazing rent discounts, and we're talking hundreds to over $1,000 a month of rent discount. So this isn't like a $50 off rent discount. And then it's also done in a way that is compliant with city regulations, both the letter and the spirit of the law, because we're actually helping a local family be able to access the single family home and neighborhood through that hosting income.
Yeah. And so with that, this mechanically is Loftium signing the lease with the landlord, and then you're placing a long-term tenant in there, and that's his or her primary residence. And here in Denver, that's the big thing to stay compliant in Denver. And then you or the tenant are renting out the Airbnb, or is it a team effort? Yeah,
so it's a collaboration. So our tenant is the primary host because it's their house, their space. They're the person right in the house when the guest comes. Loftium helps with all the automations and some of the more technical aspects of hosting. So we, first of all, provide the furniture package up front, and the tenant helps to set up everything around the Airbnb space, and they'll add their own touches. Like a lot of our hosts will want to add like little plants or like little personal kind of touches in that space. Loftium helps with all the pricing. We do all the auto messages. So when guests come in, there's the auto check-in instructions, a bunch of the different kind of platform management. So we do Airbnb, Vrbo, Loftium Stays. We coordinate between the different platforms. And we're specialists in terms of helping optimize that Airbnb to make it really revenue positive, but also minimize the manual time. And again, that was like from my own experience, trying to kind of balance the work with the benefit. So we do a lot of the technical aspects, but the hosts, they handle the in-person aspects. So turning over the unit in between guests, also all of the questions that are more local. So what's your favorite coffee shop or restaurant? Like, how do I get to your place? Is there a bus line? Those are things that we think that having the on-site resident host, that's really great to have that local knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, I love the model because you're using tech to scale, but then you have real estate. It is local, or location,
Yes.
and there's like a good blend of like the high tech and high touch. Now, Ben, I know you have a bunch of Airbnbs, and I know you got questions because you're a legit operator. I am not an operator of Airbnbs. I've stayed in plenty of them.
Yes,
but you're a hands-on operator.
I am a hands-on.
What questions are burning a hole in your mind before we?
So, Yifan, you did a great job of explaining like the tools you give the host for success. So, I guess out of all your hosts, do a majority of them do the cleaning? Or do a lot of them either hire it out after maybe experiencing it, maybe 1 or 2 months, and be like, I just don't want to do this. It's not worth my time.
Yeah, I know your opinion now. I think everyone that has done hosting, has a strong opinion about cleaning and how to handle it. So I started because I hired a cleaner, and I expected most of our renters to want to hire a cleaner because usually there's 1 or 2 turnovers a week. So it ends up being work. But actually, it turned out that a lot of our renters actually do the cleanings themselves, about like 70%, I think.
Interesting.
do it
like that.
themselves and continue to do it themselves. And I think it's because we are very clear with renters coming in to both host to own and Loftium, right? This is going to be work and this is the responsibility. I think it's also helpful because we have actually a number of people that have more flexible schedules. So, they're in the house, they can do the turnovers, they get really fast at it. And then they don't have to pay a cleaner. They kind of get to keep that extra benefit themselves.
Yeah. I like how the one thing you said, it's work, and you made that clear expectation, because coming from personal experience, it is work. It's not easy. What about you want your host to recognize as much income as possible, or bring in as much income and have high occupancy? What about price automation?
Yep. So Loftium actually developed our own pricing algorithms. So all of it's in-house. And if you're a host with Loftium, you get access to the Loftium hosting app. And you get to see, right, we automate all of the pricing so that we optimize as much revenue as possible. I know we'll get into host to own, but this is going to be really important because that hosting revenue for host to own really helps people save up their down payment. So people really are aligned with us in terms of wanting their unit to be profitable. But we handle all of that pricing automation because we actually found that the Airbnb has some smart pricing, but it's not the best.
You said it right.
Yeah. And the incentives are very different because Airbnb wants you to get booked, but they don't necessarily care if you maximize that revenue, whereas you being the person in the house with the guests, like, you really want to make sure that you're getting a good value for that stay. So I think we're much more aligned with our hosts that we want it to be a good value, not just someone comes to stay, but that we're really maximizing that revenue. And it's also not about making it so that you're 100% booked, because we found that actually the best kind of maximization of occupancy versus price is right around like 70-75% booked. If you maximize it further, you might end up reducing your rates and you'll be booked more, but you might not actually get more revenue from the unit over time. And this is probably because we have a unique guest suite type of structure where all of our units are primary resident guest suites, and they're smaller. And that's kind of what we found over the years to be the sweet spot.
I want to transition into the host to own program that you and Loftium are doing, because I find this fascinating and a very cool new take on the traditional rent to own model. And this is, I think, really cool with the technology, especially doing through Airbnb. So you've put together a gorgeous slide deck that we can reference some, and we'll talk about, but people can view it on the screen. But walk us through this program, and then Ben and I are just going to pepper you with questions, because we've been writing them up. So be prepared.
I'm excited. Okay, great. So I'm really excited to talk about Host to Own. Host to Own is Loftium's newest product. Just got started in 2022 in Denver to start, but we're now in Portland as well. So the whole mission is we are trying to create an affordable path to home ownership for people that want to live in expensive cities like Denver and want single families, right? Want more space in their lives. So we're a team of about 40 people now in Seattle, and that is really the mission of Host to Own. The way it works is, if we want to go to the next slide. Basically, we take single family homes and we carve out a part of that house, typically just a bedroom and a bathroom, as the guest suite. So with our host to own customers, normal people will come to us. We give them a housing budget and they can go out and find their dream home, the one that they want to live in. We do make sure that this layout works where there's a guest suite that we can carve out. But Loftium will actually buy that house for the renter. They pick the house, but we buy it for them. And they will host guests in that guest suite for 1 to 3 years. That hosting income gets split 60-40. So they keep 60% of the income, we keep 40%. And that goes to save up their down payment to eventually be able to buy the house from us and become homeowners. It's very exciting because I think one of the issues with traditional rent to own is that, you probably have to pay pay that down payment savings yourself, right? So you're paying rent and then you're paying that above market portion to save up your down payment. But host to own is different because you are actually saving that down payment through your hosting income. And by the way, you can keep some of that 60% today to offset your rent today. So most of our host to own customers are actually paying below market rent, saving up that down payment, and they have the ability to purchase the home from us at a locked in price. And that's important for our customers as well, because, Denver housing market has been absolutely insane over the last year, last 6 months. Having a locked in price makes sure that you are hosting, you're building up that down payment, but the price is not outpacing your ability to save up that down payment.
So is it just a flat price, or is it pegged at a certain like 3% or 5% kind of growth a year? Or does it just depend?
Yeah, so it depends on the market, but in Denver, it's a 4% appreciation per year, which is much lower than the market rate, which I think is like 15 to 20% right now in Denver. So Loftium is trying to build in some price appreciation because that is the reality of the market and the inflationary environment that we're in. But we're not trying to really maximize that. We're trying to build in a fair appreciated price per year. We want our customers to be able to purchase that home from us. And we do want the customers to be able to save up that down payment through hosting.
So that 60% that you said the host keep, how is that broken up? I mean, you mentioned furnishing, you mentioned saving for a down payment, rent reduction. What does that look like?
Yeah. So Loftium actually provides the furniture package to the host. So just for the Airbnb, not for your rental area. So that price comes out of the down payment savings as well. So you're basically purchasing that furniture package. We pay for it upfront, but it comes out of the hosting income. So the way the math works, I think it's probably easiest to look at the slides, but you have year 1, 2, and 3. You have your down payment savings where you're keeping 60% of the guest income, and that over time will get to at least a 5% down payment.
Okay.
And it depends on how much effort you want to put in hosting and all of that. You can decide to put all of that 60% over into down payment savings if you want to, so you can save it up earlier, buy the house earlier. A lot of our hosts actually want to use some of that 60% and use it to offset their rent today. So in this example, the 60%, this customer is keeping 40% for the down payment and then 20% for rent reductions today. So that way you can both have a lower rent than market rent today, and you're able to save up the down payment over time.
So I love this model. So I want to do a recap because I know a lot of people are not familiar with rent to own. And this is a really cool spin. So walk me through this. So I'm interested in becoming a host to own with Loftium. I reach out to Loftium, fill out the application, and I get pre-approved through a lender, right?
It's actually through Loftium.
Through you guys.
Because you don't have to qualify for a mortgage with a host-to-own product and a rent-to-own. And this is the benefit is if you're not quite ready to apply for a mortgage, you can, with host-to-own, have 3 years to get ready. So you can come in. We will look at all of your income and debts and credit score because we do want to make sure that you will, within 3 years, be able to purchase. But you don't have to be mortgage ready today. And that's a benefit for people who have, say, 1099 income, maybe just started a new job, maybe, right now are in school, like one partner is in school and trying to balance expenses. But, within 3 years, that gives you time to work on these things as well as, host and build up that down payment and the track record of hosting income in your house.
So you're doing some basic qualification to make sure, hey, when over the next couple of years, that person most likely can be able to buy the home, which I love. So you want to truly set them up for success.
Right.
And then go through, get approved through Loftium. Great. I passed the test. And then I can either work with one of your agents or the client can bring their own agent.
Yep.
Go out there, go house shopping. And if the house meets the criteria, because I know certain layout, no HOAs, there's some criteria I was reading on the website about. Client, agent go out to put offers in, Loftium buys it, correct?
Yes. And we are a cash buyer. So that
Okay.
is very beneficial in markets like Denver. So we are buying on behalf of the renter, but Loftium is the buyer. And I think with a cash offer, we skip all the issues around appraisal gaps, around FHA loans, all of the things that a lot of our customers might not be able to win a home at this price otherwise.
How, when it kind of comes to, because, when took out the appraisal and the financing, which is like the second biggest thing, inspections are the first big thing.
Yes.
That's where a lot of deals blow up. When it comes time, I go out there, buy a house. You guys were under contract. You guys are banking the house for me. We get the inspection. There are inspection issues. Is that my call, the broker call, Loftium call? Because I imagine there's some red flags. Inspections can run the gamut.
Definitely. Yeah. So this has been a big kind of learning experience for us as well. So at the beginning, I think we had more of a multiple party decision, and it ended up being quite messy. So at this point with host to own, it is Loftium's decision in terms of the inspection. But I think the incentives are aligned here because we are the buyer and we hold the home for the first 3 years. The renter also has the option to buy or to walk away. So, Loftium is very incentivized to make sure we're not buying a dud here. Like we're buying a good house. There's no major issues. We also happen to have in-house ops experts that really have looked at a lot of inspection reports. So we are the ones that are responsible for looking at that inspection report, making a go, no-go decision. We do share that inspection report after the decision with our customers so that they can see what went into it. And obviously before purchasing the home, the renter can decide to do another inspection if they want to. But for the most part, I think our opinion is we want to be transparent with the customer, but we want to keep this decision making simple, streamlined, especially Denver is a very fast market as well. So we kind of have to turn that inspection report over pretty quickly.
No, and that makes sense. And I would do the same thing if I was in your shoes. Like, you're the ones buying the house. Let's make sure it's, like you said, not a dud or, that's going to take $100,000 in the renovation work here next few months.
Yes. So
get through that, get to the closing table, close, and then Loftium has a furnishing package. Or actually, before I get to that, like we close and through, I know you have some layouts you go through, and you do some, I call them very light renovations. Yes. Add a piece of drywall, add a door, block off a big room into a bedroom or two, like a couple $1,000s worth of work, it sounds like.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, we don't do heavy renovations. So we're looking for fairly rent-ready homes, but we will put in some investments. Like, sometimes we need a new coat of paint or, change up the carpet. And we always make that separation between the guest suite and the renter space.
What about egress windows?
Yes. So we are getting very good at installing egress windows.
They're neat a lot of homes around Denver.
Yes. Yeah. I'm surprised by how many homes don't have egress windows because you think that when you're putting a home up for sale, that's, I think, a pretty high value thing to add. But yeah, Loftium does put in egress windows, especially because we have a lot of the basement units are the Airbnb suites.
Oh, yeah. Then that's a classic like Denver Airbnb. But then dig out an egress window or two. Yeah, I agree. I'm not so much surprised on the sell side. I'm surprised on how many landlords will rent properties without the egress. That's more my fear. I have a bunch of long-term rentals, and egress window $3,000, maybe $4,000 now.
Yep.
But man, something bad happens, a fire or a flood.
Yeah.
The person can't get out. That's horrible and going to be, I imagine, a big lawsuit.
Definitely. Yeah. And so we have a great egress window specialty now for Denver in particular. It's interesting because now we have host to own in Portland as well. And I think at least in Portland, more homes already have egress installed. But I think Denver, it's probably 50-50 at this point, whether egress is actually installed.
Yeah. All right. So get through here, do whatever light renovations we need to. Yeah. And actually, I know in the slide deck here, you have a couple of and I think it's past them. You have a couple floor plans here.
Yep.
Walk us through kind of like the typical floor plans or the work you do, because these are there's really good slides.
Yeah, definitely. So this is probably helpful because a lot of people don't think about single family from a Loftium perspective. A lot of people expect that you have to have a fully separated ADU, right, with a kitchen, and that's not the case. So we will work with different layouts. Like often we see there's a master bedroom, bathroom, suite that has an outside access, like it has a sliding glass door into the patio. So we can carve that out, and that can be the guest suite. And then the renters will have the rest of the house, right? All the like kitchen, dining room, etc. Because it's a short-term rental, so it doesn't need to have a full kitchen. We'll put in mini fridge, microwave, and make it very cute and cozy. But for a 3 to 4 night stay, you don't need a full kitchen.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And then this other one is the basement suite, which is, I mean,
this is the classic.
Yeah,
Denver.
we love these layouts. So walk us through what you see a lot here.
Yeah, definitely. So this basement is now the guest suite, and typically the guests have an entrance out the back door, and the renters have front entrance, garage entrance, all of that. So we will just add a typical drywall or door separation, so that back staircase and the back door is just for the guests. They go straight down to the basement, and there's 1 or 2 bedrooms and bathroom for them. The renters are just on the first floor of the house, and this is nice to have the floor separation too, because there's less sound transfer, which I'm sure, Ben, you've seen, especially with young kids in the house or pets. This is kind of a nicer separation for guests and renters.
Yeah. All right. So I close on my property. We do whatever one of these layouts. We make the slight modifications needed, because there are usually some that need to be done. I'll get that done. And then what's the furniture package Airbnb setup look like?
Yeah, so Loftium actually does a whole kind of onboarding package, and we ship a standard kind of package of furniture. We have an in-house interior designer who will look at your house and kind of put together a package for you. It contains all of the standard furniture as well as some light decor as well, and there's certain themes. But we've learned over the years that for Airbnb guests, there's certain types of decor that work better, especially for photos, and guests like a more modern type of take in terms of furnishing. So we ship all of that over, and our hosts are responsible for setting up all of that package. So again, it's a collaboration, right? Because Loftium will do all the upfront work and payment, but then the hosts are responsible for putting it together. They'll also add in light personal touches as well. I think that really helps, like handwritten notes or a guest book, or even like their own kind of travel type of decor. That really helps, because a lot of the guests like to know that they're staying with a local family. It's kind of a back to the Airbnb roots, right? It's an actual true local experience. They can get tips in terms of like local places to see, or best place to eat that maybe is not on like a Yelp top 25.
So you have a few templates here for design packages. You measure, work the property, work with the tenant owner, ship it out, and then they set it up. Have you guys, what's the turnaround time like that on? Is that pretty quick, or is it months with now supply chain issues?
Yeah, we've gotten pretty good. So it's typically a 15-day onboarding. So it's pretty fast. Things get shipped out. And this is nice because we know when the house is going to close. So we have our ops team basically plan out the package, and everything is shipped on time. So then you basically move into the home. You have all of the furniture already there. So you're setting up your guest suite. And then we also have, especially in Denver, professional photographers that will come and just take pictures of that Airbnb suite, because it makes a big difference in terms of driving revenue for hosting.
Oh yeah, pictures matter big time.
Yes.
So 15-day onboarding, you guys have your checklist and your process and your onboarding specialist, it sounds like. And then you're funding, or Loftium is funding the onboarding and the furniture package. And so there's no really out of pocket for the tenant, except for maybe some minor flair things they put up in there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
We try to make it no out of pocket because we know that's important for our renters. But the cost of that furniture package does get taken out of your down payment funds
Okay.
when you purchase the home. So it's typically $4,000 to $6,000 of furniture and decor. And that does get taken out when you purchase the home. But, after 3 years of hosting, you will have saved up typically like 30 to sometimes 50,000 through hosting. So I think that's pretty easy to have it come out of hosting income instead of out of pocket upfront.
Oh yeah, and it sounds like it's basically like an interest-free loan in some sense or the other for the buyer there. So, and I know you got the 60-40 split, 40 to Loftium, 60 to the tenant. And they can save all of it, use all of it for the rent, whatever they figure out there. Is it?
The one clarification.
Oh,
is
okay.
You can't use it all for the rent
Okay.
discount. So we want to make sure that you're going to save at least a 5% down payment. So that's the minimum. You can't take all of it for the rent discount because we want to make sure you do have a down payment. You can buy this home from us at the end of 3 years.
So are you kind of based off, hey, in 3 years, based on the 4% appreciation assumption of the purchase price, we expect 5% to be XYZ, whatever dollar amount, and then when that point hits, or anytime earlier, if the tenant buyer has enough money saved up, they can go ahead and buy the property? Or is there like a minimum amount of time Loftium to own the property?
Yeah. So our calculation is at the 3-year mark, what is 5% of that 3rd-year price? And we make sure that you can only take the excess of that for rent discounts.
Okay.
Yeah, because and it can start at the beginning. So we can say, out of the 60%, maybe it's half and half for this home. So 30% is for the down payment, 30% is for your rent discounts. For other customers, they might want to save more of it for the down payment because it's going to be cheaper if you can buy the home earlier. So if you want to save faster, maybe you keep all 60% for the down payment. You don't care about rent discounts right now. For other customers, maybe they're very focused on their monthly payments. Like we have customers that are paying off some, loans, debts, etc. So maybe you want to only keep 20% for the down payment and 40% for rent discounts. You keep your monthly payments super low so you can take care of everything else that you need to do.
So to get into it, is there any other financial commitment that is from the host to you kind of on the early stage of purchasing the property?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I probably should have explained some of this earlier, but you do need 1%.
1% of the purchase price?
Exactly. 1% of the purchase price. And we ask for that upfront. Honestly, we have debated, what should we do here? How much commitment? But since we are making a pretty massive commitment here, buying a home, shipping the furniture, we want to make sure our hosts also have skin in the game and really do want this house.
Yeah,
because I know there's other rent-to-own companies that maybe don't care as much about the customer actually purchasing the home. Loftium really cares. And we've kind of created this model in a way that we want you to be able to purchase this home. We also want the customer to spend time thinking about the house that they're going to pick because I think for us, we want to make sure that there's someone who's really bought into this house, and there's nothing that can replace someone choosing a house for themselves.
Yes.
Because that's I'm sure you guys know about all the Zillow fiascos and various things that have happened, and there's a lot of tech companies in real estate that maybe have been focused a lot on scalability versus the actual real estate. And we think it's just a commitment, if we have a local customer who knows neighborhoods, they can walk the streets, pick a house. That's just another level of selection for us as a company. So that's why the 1% is there.
It's such a great, one of the many reasons why it's a great business model is because it's an incentive for the host to actually maybe skip on that extra vacation to make sure the property is available to get the most occupancy that they can to decrease their rent savings to purchase the property 2-3 years down the road. It's very brilliant.
Thank you. Yeah, we think so too. I think it's taking us time definitely to get here because it's a hard product host to own to put together. And I think I'm pretty thankful that we have all the experience with our Loftium rentals, right? Working with properties that we don't own. And we've kind of taken the years and kind of perfected that package, right? Onboarding furniture package. We do a lot of training with our hosts to make sure that they're set up to host successfully. And we have our Loftium hosts have now hosted over 150,000 guests across our 10 markets.
Wow.
So we've
Congratulations.
seen, thank you.
That's
We've
cool.
seen everything. We've seen,
Did you have like 100,000 host celebration or anything like that?
that line was crossed during COVID.
Oh.
So we did not,
That sounds like a pretty boring Zoom happy hour if you're trying to do that, right?
Yeah, we have had some pretty boring Zoom happy hours.
I think everyone has.
It's better than nothing, but we're happy to be back in person.
So I have a really good understanding of this. Any other things that you want to mention on the host-owned program or things to clarify or Ben and I forgot to ask on here? Because this is fascinating. And I know we've jumped around on here.
Definitely. Yeah. Maybe I think there's one slide that shows the price of the purchase price. And
this one?
Well, this one is good because that one, basically, it's a comparison between rent to own and host to own. And like I mentioned, rent to own historically, I think that the biggest complaint is that you have to basically pay above market rent, right? Like for your down payment savings. So you're locked into this higher than normal payment in order to get the right to purchase. And host to own, we are much more affordable from a monthly payments perspective. So a lot of people that think about rent to own might not think, oh, actually I can pay lower than market rent and get access via hosting.
Yeah, and I'll read a few things off the slide here. So on the traditional rent to own, you're using about a $500,000 right to purchase in year one. With an estimated payment about $3,400 a month in traditional rent to own. Loftium using the under market rent and splitting that, you're estimating about a $2,200, $2,300 a month rent. So basically about $1,000 less per month in this model of, hey, own or host own versus rent own model.
Exactly.
Which is significant. I mean, that's 33%. That's a lot of money every month.
Yeah, and it opens it up, I think, to a demographic of people that might not think they could own before. So we work with a lot of people. Our early host-owned customers. I think we had a couple that was a property manager and a contractor, a general contractor. So I think we work with a lot of people that definitely want the single-family experience, and I think they're perfect for a single-family lifestyle. They're ready for it. But from an income perspective or a monthly payments perspective, I don't think traditional rent to own would be available to them, or a regular rental or mortgage, but host to own kind of opens that up. So that's kind of a big thing that for people listening, I would love to get this message out there that there is this path through host to own for people that think, oh, I'm never going to be able to own in Denver. We really want to create a product where that's possible for people. Yeah.
And I mean, doing some, quick mental math here, if you're taking a 1%, is it down payment, deposit? What would you call that from the?
It's just an initial down payment.
Okay, so initial down payment, 1%. I mean, if it's a $500,000 property, that's $5,000 versus $30,000 plus closing costs through 5% down on. Like, it's a significant savings for those people out there that don't have the down payment funds, and this is huge.
Definitely.
Especially since you guys are doing a 4% appreciation.
Yep.
I would love just to buy a bunch of properties and take that bet with you guys all day long. It's a great win-win, and it's very fair to the host-owned person.
Definitely. Yep. And we try to create a product that was fair to the customers. Obviously we are a for-profit company. So for us, we make money through the appreciation and also through the rent while you're renting, because you're paying rent and we're sharing in that short-term rental income. But I think it's a very fair product. We also do require that you're a primary resident. So, Chris, you can't own a bunch of properties.
I know that.
I know that.
I know. We're not fans of mortgage fraud around here. They're going to buy it actually living as a primary residence.
Yep.
Well, this has been phenomenal. Like, I have learned a lot. I'm very intrigued to learn more about this program. Hopefully start doing some deals as well with this, because I know we've had our fair share of clients, especially the last 6 months, where if you don't have the 5% down payment plus some extra cash for appraisal gaps, whatever. Like it's been very, very hard to get a property in this market.
Definitely.
This program, I'm very excited to teach people about. Hopefully we can do some deals with our clients, Ben. So if people want to learn more about this, they go to loftium.com to get more details.
That's right. Yeah. Loftium.com. They can sign up and go through the initial questions to get their home budget, which is always fun, I think, also to kind of see what is that home budget. And then they can start shopping either with their agent or, working directly with Loftium as well.
Yeah. So listeners, viewers out there, any questions? I mean, reach out to me and Ben. We'll do our best to help you out. Obviously, reach out to Loftium, go through their process. Envision clients, if you guys are interested, reach out to us as well. Like this is something that Ben and I are our ears perked up 6 weeks ago when we got wind of this and wanted to learn about it and look forward to executing around town and helping people start building their rental portfolio. So thank you so much, guys. Ben, always a pleasure having you in the studio. Yifan, pleasure to meet you in person. Hopefully I'll be back on more podcasts in the future.
Definitely. Thanks, Chris.
All right. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.